do you want, man? It's like 2 a.m.
Address me like that again, and I will show you why. They call me the Baba Yaga.
Okay. What do you need then?
You are to explain Leetcode number 11, container with the most water. Exactly how the script in front of you tells you how to explain it.
Yeah, I don't have a script.
Check your front door.
Hello, and welcome back to another Leetcode video with me, Dylan Howell, the internet's best TA. I'm a bit biased. Anyway, today we got Leetcode question 11, container with most water. That title, I think it might be missing some grammar. It just seems weird saying. I feel like I should say container with the most water or something like that. Container with most water just doesn't roll off the tongue. Anyway, gripes aside, let's dive into this question and see what it's actually about. So you're given a list of numbers essentially, and you're supposed to find out using a lot of imagination if those numbers were poles in a pool, right? And you're filling up water in between these poles. What is the most amount of water you can have given these poles' height in this order? The reason this question might be helpful for you in future interviews or anything like that is the core concept being the two-pointer approach method. Essentially, that is having 2 pointers traverse the array in a predetermined way. Given that context, I'm sure you can kind of put together how you're supposed to solve this question. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. Using this example 1 here, the highlighted area that they have here is the current max, or I guess it's the current container with most water. Not the most water, with most water. Why? I'm going to drop it. I'm sorry. Anyway, so in order to come up with this number of 49, you're going to have to look at these 2 poles and find out which one's shorter. So the 2 poles that are highlighted right now are of values 8 and 7. 7's less than 8, so we're going to put that in a little calculator. We're going to put 7. Now, how do you find the area of a rectangle? Yeah, nice.
Length times width.
Here, since the water would overfill if we tried to get it to of height 8 because our pipe on the right side is of height 7, the water would overfill. So you cannot use 8 as the height here. You must use the minimum height possible. Now, what would the base be? The base is just the difference between the index values of those 2. So if you didn't know, you just gotta start at 0. Starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 minus 1, that's 7. 7 times 7 is 49. That's the most water you can have in these pole containers. Container with most water right here. Now that we have understood what this problem is actually solving, which I think is probably the most important part when solving a problem, especially in Leetcode, how do we do it? Like I said earlier, you're going to want to use the approach called the 2 pointers approach. In this traversal, you're going to start at opposite sides of the array. So you're going to start one here at the index 0 and the other at index 8, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Never hurts to double check. So let's go ahead and start writing this into code. We have our left pointer, and that is set at 0. And then we have our right pointer. That is set at the length of the height array minus 1. Why is it minus 1? Well, the length function in Python takes the number of elements in the array. So the number of elements in this array is actually 9, even though the n index is technically 8. That's just like another edge case you have to look out for, and you just kind of pick up on the job, I guess. So don't feel bad if you didn't know that. Seriously, don't. So given that we have these 2 pointers now on opposite sides of the array, just time to start writing the logic to check the area, the size of the area. So we're going to make a temporary variable here called current max area, I guess. Set it to 0 or negative infinity if you have weird edge cases here. The minimum constraint that we have here is 0, so I'm just going to go ahead and go with that. I don't see any harm that can come from that right now. Could be foreshadowing. I don't know. Now, how are we going to loop over this array? Well, what is our termination condition is another way you could be looking at this. If we are going at this how we've been describing, as the two poles get closer together, just whichever one's shorter gets moved closer. One way we can look for this is to check if these pointers ever overlap, right? Because we would have already checked those. There's no reason to check those twice. So we can just go ahead and write some code here to check while left pointer is less than right pointer. Boom. We've solved it. Semicolon I put there? What the hell? My bad. Alright. So now that we got the left pointer, right pointer going, and they're not going to ever intersect, we can go ahead and start checking for the max area here. So, like I said, we're going to check for which pipe is the shortest. Usually, I don't like doing this, especially at parties. It makes me sad, and I end up leaving early. But for this scenario right here, that is a stupid joke. I don't do that. I don't. Sorry. Anyway, so we're going to do new max area, right? We're going to set that to the minimum height of left point. Don't pause. Don't worry. I'll explain what I'm doing in a second if this is a bit much. Otherwise, go ahead and feel free to skip forward. So, getting the minimum, and then we got to get the base, right? And the base is just the difference in length between the pointers, right? So we're going to start. We know the right pointer is going to be always more than the left pointer. So we're going to go ahead and start with right pointer minus left pointer. And boom, bam, bop. We have solved for the new max area. Now, if new max area is greater than current max area, then current max area is set to new max area. What that is doing is updating the biggest value. So it will only update if a bigger value comes along. That is just a pattern that you'll develop eventually, I guess. I don't know. So now that we'd have decided if we have a new current max area, it's time to go ahead and calculate the new area. So how do we decide what pipe to move on to? Let's just do it fairly simply here and do some if conditionals. So if height of left pointer is greater than height, it doesn't really matter what order it is in, by the way. I'm doing it. Sorry. So if 1 is greater than 7, let's just say hypothetically it is. So if 1 is greater than 7, then we have to subtract from the right side. So that would be, all right, right pointer minus 1. So now we have taken 1 away from the right side. But let's say hypothetically, well, I guess that's not hypothetical. Let's say that 1 is actually less than 7. So now we have our else. And that's going to be left pointer is set to left pointer. Can you guess? It's plus 1. Why is it plus? Because on the left side, we have to make way towards the center, right? If we subtract on the left side, it's just going to get farther down. That's not what we want. Eventually, with this code, the pointers will intersect and this code will break. And after this code is done running, all we have to redo is return the current max area, right? Let's go ahead and just submit because I'm confident. Okay. I have a typo here. I just can't spell right pointer. I have a feeling here it has to do with my order of operations. It was just order of operations. All right. See, even somebody who has a full-time job can get stuck on this. Let me go ahead and take out that print statement just so I can boost that runtime because that's kind of abysmal, 5%. Somehow we've lost all of our memory, even though we stopped printing anything. Just goes to show you that you don't have to take all this stuff on Leetcode for Bible theory. Anyway, yeah, that is how you solve Leetcode number 11. Container with most water. I'm going to start a change.org petition, possibly, to change it to container with the most water. Because it's kind of just, you know, it just doesn't feel right to say. It feels like I'm misspeaking every time I talk about it. All right, well, till next time, it's Dylan signing out. Hope you learned something. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Get your FANG job. Bye-bye. Get money. Bye-bye.
I take it the video is done.
Yeah, it's rendering as we speak. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be the last one I'm doing for you.
You think one video and poof, you're off the hook. Must I remind you of what you did? You are nothing but a tool at my disposal. If I were you, I would get used to making Leetcode videos for as long as you live.